So before we move to the closing of this year's conference, let's hear a little bit about next year. I'm delighted to welcome onto the stage Pier Mario Vello, who is Secretary General of the Fondazione Cariplo and Chair of the 2015 EFC AGA Conference Host and Programme Committees, to tell you a little bit more about where you'll be going next year. Over to you, Pier.
Thank you, Jackie. So in November 2013, the EFC Governing Council agreed that Milan would be the venue for the 2015 AGA and conference. The conference in Milan will be in the city hosting the World Expo, Feeding the Planet, Energy for Life. It's a great opportunity for Foundation to link to other sectors and benefit from notable number of events, organizations, speakers and visitors that Expo 2015 will be attracting to Milan. We are thankful to all EFC members for the enthusiasm expressed about the Milanese venue, and I want to thank particularly the Dutch colleague and friends, the European Cultural Foundation, and the other members that were already in the process of preparing the host of the conference in Amsterdam next year. They have very kindly agreed to postpone their plans and bring the conference to Milan. I thank also the Italian colleagues of Fondazione di Lucca that many times have generously expressed their pleasure to host the annual conference in beautiful Lucca. Civil society organization will play a prominent role in Expo. Expo has dedicated a very significant space to civil society organizations. The space named Cascina Triulza will be animated by events and initiatives pertinent to the theme. So we can also have some synergies between the third sector site and the EFC members during all year. We have the responsibility to chair the third committee, the third sector committee, and the organization of the 26th edition of the EFC AGA conference is entrusted to two committees, the program committee and the host committee, respectively focused on the conference program and on its logistic issues. I have also to thank the Italian members of host committee that they agreed to sustain and to fund the organization of the next AGA meeting. A few notes about the program committee composition. We tried to get it a bit more democratic. It's an experiment, and if it works, it can be replied in the next years. An initial group of members was identified taking into account the geographic reach and the intervention sector of the respective foundations. In the second phase, which is here and now, we have launched a call for nomination for 3 open seats at the program committee. I remind you, all of you willing to participate and provide the committee with your expertise and knowledge, that the deadline to communicate us your availability is today. The program committee members selected in the initial phase will analyze the spontaneous applications collected here in Sarajevo and will communicate the final result in the next weeks. You can fill in the form in your bag, and you can leave the form at the end, at the exit to the colleagues of the Secretariat. The criteria that will be used for the selection are competences related to the themes, gender balance, and geographical balance. The next AGA conference will be titled Philanthropy, Visions and Energy for Change. And for the 4 main conferences, areas identified by the program committee are: first, Youth driving change. How can philanthropy help harness the energy of tomorrow's change makers? So the youth. It's important and it's connected to the theme that we have heard today. The second area is philanthropy, government and corporate engagement for social equality. So what can foundation do to promote more active collaboration between philanthropy, policymakers and corporate engagement to create social equality and sustainable change? The third area is community resilience. How can foundation foster community empowerment and enable them to become the drivers of their own sustainable development? We would like now to give you a flavor with a video of what we imagine the atmosphere and the spirit of the next year conference will be. Just before that, allow me to thank EFC and the members that worked so hard for the success of this inspiring conference in Sarajevo. After so many successful editions from Cascais, Belfast, Copenhagen, and now Sarajevo, Milan has not an easy task. But we'll do our best and excuse us if we won't be perfect. Just remind today, save the date, and we hope to see you in Milan next year.
Thank you very much indeed, Pier Mario. Let's watch that video. Thank you so much. So, Milano 2015, but now back to Sarajevo 2014. And it's my pleasure to give the floor to Ingrid Harm again, who of course has been the chair of this year's conference committees to begin the closing of proceedings. So Ingrid, welcome back and over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm not closing. That's not my real job. My job is to say thank you. And this was kind of a really unique HCA, different from many others, and we experienced a lot of friendship and warmness here. And therefore, we would like to thank everybody who contributed First of all, it had been my colleagues at the EFC, and especially Eric, who had been on the side of Sarajevo from the very beginning, and all the others at EFC, especially the steering committee, of course, who made all of this possible. I would like to thank Jerry, and I would like to thank Amy, and I especially would like to thank Markus Lux from the Robert Bosch Foundation, who, together with my partner, Joachim Rogal, he did all the work. He really did it. So, thank you, Markus. And of course, we would like to thank you, the unforgettable Jackie. You really pushed us through a fantastic job.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And of course, I would like to thank the hosting foundation here, Mosaic, and all the people, the architectural students who made that place, and so many artists and people who made it so nice to be here. Especially the team of Mashta. We learned a lot here. We learned that the weather didn't like us much, but we here, we had been safe and comfortable, and we had it warm and nice and cozy, while others really suffer. So we really want to give something back, and we would like to support those who are suffering. So we came up with some suggestions. It was not me, it was you who came up with the suggestion to have a donation given to those who suffer and to contribute a bit to help them. So there will be several opportunities how you can do this. First of all, you can give some small money to boxes that will be available at the exit. And then, of course, we would like all the foundations that participated in that HEA to really give a donation. And some of you came up with ideas, as I said, and one is that we should match what it cost us to come here and give the same sum to that donation. Mosaic will then propose projects, and a small group, so Cherry and Eva and Eric and me, we will select some and we will inform you where the money will go to. The need is urgent, therefore we have to be quick. It had been said that foundations can be quick and have decisions right away, so this is our opportunity to do so. And in between the next 2 weeks, we really would like to be that friend with the little help. And there will be an account number shown very soon here, an account number of Mosaic Foundation, so you may transfer the money there. Of course, you will not have to make your notes right now, but instead you will get all the information by an email that will reach you very, very soon after we have closed here. So the account number and all the informations you might need will be available on a web page that is provided by Mosaic. And I really expect us to have those donations and go forward in not only talking about that we will give something back, but really do it. It is really a tremendous catastrophe, and yeah, we can show what we can do. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, my great pleasure to welcome back Eric Rudeng from the Frittord Foundation, Chair of the EFC, to formally close this year and to do a little handover. Eric, over to you.
Dear Ingrid and all of you, first of all, I strongly support Ingrid's appeal and really hope that all of us from abroad will contribute to this appeal. I remember very well, Ingrid, the 17th of January, more than 2 years ago, I came for a first meeting with my vice chair in the management committee to do some long-term planning. And you brought with you on that sunny, bright day in Stuttgart your colleague, Professor Rogal, who is also a specialist on Eastern European history. And it was quite clear that the time was now come for a city in Eastern Europe to host our conference. So I put the question point blank to Professor Rogal. If we were to do such a thing in Eastern Europe, which city would you recommend? He thought for a while and then he said, Kiev or Sarajevo. And given the historic importance of this city in this year, we opted for the symbolism of 1914, but also the prehistory of this being such a crossroad of politics and cultures in European history for many centuries. As it has turned out, the conference is in Sarajevo, but our minds have also been very much in Kiev and with Ukraine. And I'm proud of this Sarajevo declaration, which have been made during the course of this conference. Since I will just underline that without the Bosch Stiftung and their substantial grant at the very beginning, this conference could not have been in this city. Several other foundations followed up that grant, but it was this substantial grant at an early stage, before we knew very much about the possible difficulties or surprises or anything. This could not have happened. And it's very important to have leaders in this field who really are willing to take a risk. But it was not the risk to take on Mosaic Foundation. It was quite clear from our first meeting here in Sarajevo that you were the right people, Vesna, Soren. It was an immediate contact, and we feel that we dealt with realists and also dreamers who could see that it was possible for this city. You rose to the occasion and accomplished everything you promised. Since we came here, though, there has been much rain, but we have been singing in the rain and taken it lightly, and the Bosnian rain fertilized our brain, and like the whole conference seemed to have done. But I will assure you, Ingrid and Mosaic and all of us, that in the instant annals of EFC history, this event will go down as the wonderful Sarajevo Rainfall Conference, and the conference of the Sarajevo Declaration as well. And so I will just emphasize this brilliant work which has been done by so many people in the conference committee and in Mosaic. There are hundreds of people who have been working on this, and this will repeat itself again in Milan. But now, a few words about the future of the EFC. With increasing polarization and tensions in and around Europe, it is quite clear that foundations have the potentials to play more important roles than ever in turning the tides. The famous Balkan author, Nobel laureate and ambassador Ivo Andrić, a former pupil of the gymnasium in this city, the building is still existing, once said, "If people would know how little brain is ruling the world, they would die of fever." Foundation can contribute with capital we could certainly explore new ways of contributing more brain. And I think this is what we heard from the young people earlier now, that there is a real need of new thinking, better brains, and more interested in really explore new social organizations and new forms of economic organization and planning as well. So this requires action beyond purely local and national concerns. We all have, of course, our established statutes, but we cannot hide behind those statutes because it is precisely our obligation to apply them to today's real world, also of transnational cooperation, combining creativity and resources, adding resources to our projects. The Austrian author Stefan Zweig wrote, as you all know, a fascinating but tragic book called The World of Yesterday. I hope that all of you who, in the present European situation now, want to take part in the long-term philanthropic thinking and action, that you will engage yourself more actively in the many networks of the EFC, the many stimulating networks of EFC, many of them leading up to the Milan conference next year. Join forces and take part in the necessary foundation awakening from the world of yesterday. I thank everybody in the EFC for much patience, confidence and support during my tenure as chair. It has certainly been the most enriching experience in my later professional life. And I see my slightly monomaniac initiative in 2009 for the Philanthropy House in Brussels at least one lasting result of efficient cooperation between like-minded foundations working together for this landmark building in Brussels, which will be so important in the years to come. I now call on our new chair of the EFC, Eva Kublik-Bilinska of the Stefan Batory Foundation, to join me here on the podium. Eva. Dear Eva, you have a colossal experience, a colossal political experience from Poland and many places in Europe, in France and elsewhere. You have a razor blades mind and also a very warm heart. I'm quite sure actually that you will become in these times one of the great leaders of the EFC. I wish you the best of luck, and let's give Eva a full applause at the very start of her career as a chair of EFC. Now I leave the floor and the management committee, the governing council, the HA to Eva, and this will be very good for all of us. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Eric, not just for your kind words today, but for all the initiatives you have overseen and undertaken in your times as EFC chair. On behalf of all our members, I would like to let you know that we are extremely grateful for your work and engagement in the affairs of our organization. I know that today, the 17th of May, is Norway's National Day, but I should warn you that although you are stepping down as the chair, we are not yet ready to grant you full independence. We will continue to count on your thoughtful advice, diplomatic skills, and professional experience. Dear fellow members, I am extremely honored to be taking on this new role, which represents two firsts for the EFC. First woman chair in its 24 years history. Yes, we've been waiting quite long. And the first chair from that part of Europe, which a quarter century ago was still separated by the Iron Curtain from the European community. Appointing a female chair from my region shows that EFC is constantly evolving as an institution. It is a sign of change, of willingness to adapt, and of the pursuit of progress. Personally, it is for me a powerful symbol that this happens when we celebrate two important anniversaries in my country. 25 years ago, on June the 4th, we held the first independent democratic elections, which paved the way to the first non-communist-led government in that part of Europe. A few months later, wind of change swept across our region, dismantling communist regime in Prague, Budapest, Berlin. 10 years ago, the change was consolidated with the EU enlargement. Today, we live in a completely different Europe. It is also of a special significance for me that this change is taking place here in Sarajevo, a city infused with so many meanings and symbols. Our presence these days in Sarajevo and the discussions we have had during the conference sessions remind us about the collective failure of Europe to prevent unimaginable armed conflict that took place on its continent. It reminds us that the process of reunification is not finished, and that it was exactly the preservation of peace which was at the very core of the EU project. The events in Ukraine, which were coming in our discussions during the last 2 days, make us all aware that peace in Europe cannot be taken for granted. In November, EFC enters into its 25th year of existence. When we look back at our past achievements, it is clear that we have gone a long way in nurturing the spirit of philanthropy in Europe, forging strong partnership and collaboration among foundations, opening ourselves to innovation, and engaging in dialogue with other partners. We have tried to react to many challenges that we faced over these years and remained open-minded. The past quarter century of EFC will be rightfully commemorated later on this year, but in these fragile political and economic times, no organization can afford to bask in nostalgia for too long. We must turn our thoughts into the future. 25th anniversary is a perfect occasion to re-examine our mission and goals and reflect together how we want to move EFC forward in the years to come. What can we do in view of the major challenges faced by Europe and globally, including those that were mentioned by the representatives of young generation just a few minutes ago on the stage? How can we contribute to building sustainable, unified, peaceful, inclusive societies? How can we further dialogue and cooperation among ourselves and with other partners, public institutions, businesses, other philanthropic actors? How can we grow and strengthen our membership and foster engagement of our members? The answers to these questions we should search together. It must be a joint collective effort in spirit of solidarity, commitment, and mutual trust. You are the lifeblood of EFC, and I depend on your collaboration and assistance along this next stage of the journey to strengthen, grow, and expand our organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eva.
And now I would like to thank those people who really were behind the stage and who make this incredible conference happen. Against all difficulties and many crises that were on the way before you came here, and even the way when you were coming here, they did everything to make it one of the best organized events I have ever seen. I would like to thank everybody, the Secretariat of EFC, Amy, I would like to thank Leticia, who is not here. I would like to thank the event team, the logistical team, but first of all, I would like to thank people of Bosnia and the people from Mosaic and Mashta Agency. Viesna, could you come to the stage? Viesna from Mosaic Foundation and Jefta from Mashta Agency. Please come on the stage. And one more thing. I felt really badly sitting here and knowing that people who are helping us and their families and their relatives and their friends and their compatriots are suffering this terrible calamity. I am proud that I'm a part of this community and that you decided to react immediately. And I urge you to really donate, not small funds, but really substantial help. This, I believe, was a good coincidence that we are here, because you can feel that you are needed, and your donation can make a real difference, the difference that is tangible. You can see it. So please help people of Bosnia. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Yeah,
Go ahead.
she's time.
No, this is much more important than any time.
I didn't know that you will call me, so this is not prepared. But I want to thank you, and it was really easy to be a good host because you were so good participants. We were expecting much more complaints about everything, and you didn't complain even about the weather. And I'm sorry that we have this weather because of the flood, and many of us were crying yesterday, and this is not something that you can experience on the conference. But I'm happy that we had the rain for us to be kept together. Otherwise, I'm sure that we wouldn't have this. The level of solidarity that I feel in this room is something that I hope really will enrich soul of every single one of you. Every single time when you give something to another human being, and I'm not speaking about giving donation to, every time when we give something, we become better person. Thank you for being better persons.
And thank you so much.
I will be very short. Thank you for giving us opportunity to work with you, and thank you to give us opportunity to be your host. So Vesna told everything about floods and donations, so I will just say thank you, and I hope you will be here in a sunny day so many times more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much to you. Thank you to Ingrid, to Eric, to Eva. Best of luck in your new role. But most of all, thank you to all of you. It's been for me a tremendous privilege to moderate these plenary sessions and to get to know more of you. And I just share what a wonderful experience it's been. If I could just make a couple of last practical announcements. Lunch, for those of you who are not whizzing away immediately, will be served back at the Hotel Europe. And for those of you who have signed up to the tours this afternoon, could you please, they will start at 3, please be in reception at the hotel at 2:45. And the Sarajevo Under Siege tour is full, so if you didn't pre-register, please don't try and go on that one. There are a few spaces left on the Eco Futura and Parley. So if you did want to join, please, 2:45. and they will leave at 3 o'clock sharp. But it just remains me, for those who are leaving now, to wish you all a very safe journey home and Milan 2015. Thank you all very much.